Hello, welcome to the Weird Record Club, and in today's episode we're going to look at the psychedelic work of Reginald Smith, better known as Marty Wilde. In fact, we're going to look at this very interesting album from 1969, Marty Wilde, Diversions. We'll get into this in a bit more detail later and also have a more detailed look at the cover. But of course, Marty Wilde is best known for his work in the late 50s and early 60s. He was one of these early rockers. He was part of the Larry Parnes stable. So Larry Parnes was this one of the original pop manager impresarios who would gather all these pretty young men, give them a vibrant stage name and launch them on the world. The rumor is that Larry Parnes would give these pop singers a name that reflected how he imagined they'd be like in bed. So you get stars such as Tommy Steele, Billy Fury, Vince Eager, Dickie Pride. Who else? There was Johnny Gentle. Joe Brown was another of his stable, but Joe Brown wisely refused to change his name to, what was it, Elmer Twitch or something like that. Anyway, Marty Wilde was one of Larry Parnes' stable of pretty young pop stars, and he had a number of hits. Bad Boy, probably one of his most famous, is Endless Sleep, a classic death disc. Now, that was originally done by Jody Reynolds, and we've done a video about that a few days ago, so you can check that out for more on that fantastic early death disc. But Marty Wilde had the hit. Now, by the mid 60s or the late 60s, the hits had sort of dried up really, and he changed more to writing songs with a co-writer called Ronnie Scott, not the jazzer Ronnie Scott, but another songwriter. And together they wrote and produced this album, Marty Wilde Diversions, in 1969. So this is really interesting because it's a psychedelic era album, and it has psychedelic elements to it, so very different from the 50s rocker thing. So we'll talk about this in a bit more detail. Now, the thing I like about this album, I would say, is that as well as the sort of big orchestral ballads, you get quite a lot of fuzz guitar, you get some trippy lyrics, you get these lush orchestrated what we might call it pop-psych as well. So I would say that the standout tracks, though, are probably the most famous and ones that you've heard of. So you might be wondering why I've got some Status Quo albums behind me. Well, the early psychedelic hit by Status Quo, Ice in the Sun, is one of the songs that Marty Wilde and Ronnie Scott wrote, and so this is on the album, and it's a really good version, a classic psychedelic song. You may also know the wonderful Jesamine by the Casuals, who are a one-hit wonder with that hit in Britain anyway, but they also wrote that, and that's on this album as well as a hit called Abergavenny. So all those are really interesting songs. There's a psychedelic element to them, or sort of a whimsical pop-psych element to them. One of the other standouts for me is Zobo, which 1871 to 1892, strange title. It seems to be about a lion, and they use the fuzz guitar to sort of create this really loud roar. Sorry, I'm a bit distracted. Ozzy the kitten's chewing my toe at the moment and putting me off. Anyway, if you look at the cover, really interesting psychedelic era cover, you can see that a lot of the songs get off me a little. You can see a lot of the songs that illustrated on the cover. So I guess that's Zoho the lion there. That's Juan the Mexican boy. That is the weakest song on the album. It's very twee. It's almost like the kind of song that Elvis might have in one of his worst movies. So it's not heavy psychedelia. It's not Jimi Hendrix, but it's probably closer to maybe the work of the Hollies in this period. It's more Penny Lane than Strawberry Fields. Having said that, it's really enjoyable. Great version of Ice in the Sun and Jesamine, as well as some really other pop-psych confections. So, of course, Marty Robbins went on to, I think he had a kind of glam rock comeback, which wasn't so successful in the 70s. But in the 80s, he again found success writing with his son, and they wrote the songs for his daughter Kim Wilde, who was huge in the 80s. Ronnie Scott went on to write for Bonnie Tyler, and he also had a lot of hits in the 80s. So there we have it. Marty Wilde goes psychedelic with this varied, interesting, and fun Diversions album. So I really get off me, you little bastard. So I really recommend this. Really worth checking out. I found my copy in the, what was it, 3 for a quid section, 3 for a tenner section in a record shop, Revolution Records in Halifax. So I was really happy to find that, because we all know the classic psychedelic albums and bands, but I really like exploring the bands that weren't really psychedelic, but they had a go at it. Square, what you might call square bands, and artists who had a shot at moving with the times, and Marty Wilde was one of those. So Marty Wilde Diversions, check it out. That's all for now.